Welcome to Rare Breed Brotherhood. When a heart grows quiet, it's not always peace. Sometimes it's pain that decided to stop explaining itself. Sigma males are not born cold. They become that way. Slowly, quietly, almost unnoticeably. It starts with giving people the benefit of the doubt too many times. It starts with offering kindness that gets misread as softness. And over time, the world teaches them that keeping your heart open comes with a cost they can no longer afford. This isn't bitterness, it's protection. You see, Sigma males are naturally observant and thoughtful. They feel deeply but express very little. At first, they try to stay warm despite the disappointments. But when honesty is met with betrayal and loyalty is returned with disloyalty, they begin to change. They don't lash out, they don't scream, they simply start to care less. And that shift is quiet but permanent. The more they see how people treat each other like options, how manipulation hides behind charm, and how loyalty is rare, the more they shut off parts of themselves that once overflowed with trust. This coldness is not cruelty, it's clarity. If you're a Sigma male listening to this, know this truth. Your detachment is not your weakness, it is your wisdom. You've been burned and you learned. You've outgrown the noise. You've learned that not everyone deserves to see your heart, and that is not sad. It is smart. You're not cold, you are careful. And there's strength in that silence. Let's dive in rare breeds. Number 1, they outgrow emotional reciprocity. At first, Sigma males genuinely believe in giving people their all. They'll listen without interrupting, support without conditions, and stand by you when it's inconvenient. They do it quietly, without keeping score, because for them, loyalty is second nature. But over time, something starts to shift, and it's not because they suddenly change who they are. It's because life keeps showing them the same lesson in different ways. They begin to notice that most people only show up when it benefits them. Conversations feel one-sided. They're expected to hold space for others, but when they need that same support, the room goes silent. No returned calls, no thoughtful check-ins, just expectations without effort. Take this for example. A Sigma male may help a friend move apartments in the rain, lend money without asking questions, or stay up at 2 a.m. to talk someone through a breakdown. But when he's the one silently struggling, barely anyone notices. That's when it clicks. Eventually, he stops offering the parts of himself that people never valued in the first place. Not out of spite, but out of wisdom. He learns that emotional reciprocity isn't just about being kind. It's about alignment, about mutual effort, about respect. So now, he doesn't give everyone the same access. If you don't meet him halfway, he won't force the connection. If you only come around when it's convenient, he will slowly but surely pull back. He's not cold, he's calibrated. His time, energy, and presence are no longer open for those who confuse his kindness for a service. Sigma males outgrow emotional reciprocity because they realize that not every heart beats as sincerely as theirs. And once that realization settles in, they no longer feel guilty for protecting their own peace. If it's not mutual, it's removed. Simple as that. Number 2, their kindness was once interpreted as weakness. Sigma males don't start off guarded. In fact, in the beginning, they're unusually kind. Not the loud, attention-seeking kind of nice. The quiet, thoughtful kind. The kind that notices when you're not okay without you saying a word. The kind that will offer help without being asked, even when it costs them time, energy, or sleep. But here's the hard truth. Not everyone sees that kindness for what it is. Some see it as a green light to take more, to test limits, to assume the Sigma male will always be available. And for a while he is, until one too many people start mistaking his calm for naivety, his forgiveness for forgetfulness, his silence for approval. And that's when something inside him begins to harden. Let's say he covers for a friend at work. Just once. Then it becomes a pattern. The friend starts disappearing, relying on him to pick up the slack. Or maybe he's in a relationship where he keeps giving chances, hoping love will fix what inconsistency keeps breaking. Instead, his patience becomes a license for the other person to care less and less. Eventually, the Sigma male gets the message. People are not responding to his kindness with gratitude. They are responding with entitlement. So he stops overextending himself. He no longer explains his boundaries, he simply enforces them. Cold? No. It's clarity after experience. What most people don't realize is that behind every emotionally distant Sigma male is a timeline of moments where he was too understanding, too forgiving, too available. And the world taught him a painful lesson. Kindness, when not protected, gets devoured. So now, he keeps that warmth to himself. He offers it carefully, like a rare currency. Because once you've been treated like a doormat for being decent, you don't stop being kind. You just stop being kind to everyone. Number 3. They're exhausted by emotional maintenance. Sigma males are the type to keep the peace even when their world is falling apart. They're often the emotional anchor in their relationships, the quiet support system who listens more than they speak. They stay calm when everyone else is falling apart, and they carry burdens that no one even notices. But here's the reality. Constantly managing other people's emotions while ignoring their own becomes exhausting. Not just tiring, but soul-deep exhaustion. They're expected to be stable, composed, and strong. People lean on them but rarely stop to ask, "How are you really doing?" Over time, that imbalance wears them down. Imagine being the one who always talks someone off the ledge, but when you're drowning, no one even sees it. That's the emotional reality of a Sigma male. They've had conversations where they had to walk on eggshells just to avoid hurting someone's feelings, while their own truth remained locked up. They've dealt with people who explode over small things, and instead of reacting, they internalize the damage. They've been told to be the bigger person so many times, it became second nature to shrink themselves for the sake of others. Eventually, they hit a wall. They stop chasing emotional connection with people who depend on them for validation, but bring nothing in return. If someone can't handle self-awareness, if they need to be constantly soothed or reassured, the Sigma male gradually pulls away, not because he's unkind, but because he's drained. He needs depth, not drama, accountability, not emotional babysitting. And once he realizes that some people thrive on emotional chaos, he chooses peace over performance. He's done fixing everyone else while falling apart quietly. So now, if you can't meet him with calm, growth, and self-respect, don't expect him to show up emotionally. He's not cold, he's just tired of doing all the emotional work alone. Number 4. Loyalty scars. Them. Loyalty for Sigma males isn't just a value, it's how they live. When they commit to someone, friend, partner, family, they're all in. They'll defend you behind closed doors, support you in silence, and stand by you even when it's inconvenient. But this depth of loyalty isn't always appreciated. In fact, it's often abused. What hurts a Sigma male the most isn't the betrayal itself, it's who it came from. It's when the very people they showed up for, time and time again, end up being the ones who lie, disappear, or switch up when things get hard. These aren't shallow connections. They're people they trusted with parts of themselves they rarely show. It might be a best friend who vanished when things got serious, a partner who used their loyalty as leverage, a family member who expected unconditional support but never gave it in return. And when the Sigma male starts putting the pieces together, something shifts inside him, not with noise, with silence. He doesn't explode, he observes, he learns. And then he stops giving that loyalty away for free. He becomes more guarded. He no longer assumes that people mean what they say. He listens to patterns, not promises, and he watches how people act when they have nothing to gain. Loyalty for him now is earned in layers. It's built slowly, it's tested. And if you fail that test, he won't argue. He won't chase. He'll just disappear from your life, completely and without warning. Because once you break the trust of a Sigma male, there's no speech that can repair it. His loyalty is rare. If you break it, don't expect a second chance. Not because he hates you, but because he finally loves himself enough not to bleed for those who only show up when it's convenient. Number 5. Empathy became a double-edged sword. Sigma males are naturally wired to feel things on a deeper level. They don't just notice what someone's saying, they pick up on what's not being said, the tone, the hesitation, the energy behind the words. And at first, this makes them powerful listeners and deeply compassionate people. They see through the surface, and because of that, they often show kindness where others would walk away. But feeling deeply comes with a cost. Their empathy, though genuine, starts to backfire. They give people the benefit of the doubt even when the red flags are waving right in front of them. They tolerate toxic behavior out of compassion. They make excuses for others' mistreatment, telling themselves that maybe the person is just hurt, stressed, or misunderstood. And that's how it happens. Slowly, people start to take advantage of their emotional availability. They get used to the Sigma male being the one who always understands, always forgives, always bends. And that level of one-sided emotional labor chips away at him, piece by piece. Until one day, he wakes up feeling emotionally burnt out, not because he stopped caring, but because he cared too much for people who didn't deserve that depth. So he rewires himself. He doesn't lose empathy, he just stops letting it control him. Now, he listens without absorbing. He observes people's pain without letting it weigh him down. He understands the struggle, but he stops trying to fix it for those who won't help themselves. He becomes emotionally present, but selectively attached. It's not coldness, it's control. He still feels, but now he chooses what to carry and what to leave behind. Empathy made him soft. Exploitation made him sharp. And somewhere in between he learned the most powerful lesson of all. You can care deeply and still protect your peace. Number 6. People didn't just disappoint, they repeated patterns. For Sigma males, the turning point isn't usually one big betrayal. It's the slow, painful realization that the same story keeps playing out, just with different characters. At first, they give people the benefit of the doubt. They chalk it up to a bad day, a misunderstanding, or poor communication. But after a while, the excuses wear thin, and the truth becomes impossible to ignore. It's not just that someone lied, it's that lies became normal. It's not just that one person disappeared when they were needed, it's that every time the Sigma male was in a tough spot, people vanished, ghosted, checked out, promised one thing, delivered another. And the worst part, these patterns show up even after they've been patient, kind, and loyal. They offer grace, second chances, and honest conversations, only to see people fall right back into the same cycles. People say they'll do better, and don't. They apologize, but repeat the same damage. And when this happens over and over again, something inside the Sigma male starts to shut down. He stops expecting change. He starts predicting behavior, not out of cynicism, but from experience. The heartbreak isn't from what was done, it's from how consistently it was done. This is how emotional walls are built, not out of bitterness, but out of pattern recognition. Sigma males don't become cold because of one disappointment. They become cold because every lesson life throws at them looks like a rerun of the last. Eventually, he chooses distance over hope. Not because he's given up on people entirely, but because he refuses to keep participating in a pattern that leaves him drained, doubting himself, and questioning his worth. The stone heart isn't natural. It's a response to too many echoes of the same pain. Number 7. They realize some people only love access, not them. One of the hardest lessons a Sigma male learns is that not everyone who smiles in your face actually values you. What they value is access to your stability, your insight, your calm presence, your resources, your energy. You become the one they call when their life is falling apart, the one they vent to, the one they count on to give clarity when everything feels chaotic. And at first, the Sigma male shows up, consistently, quietly. He doesn't need praise or attention. Helping others is just part of who he is. But then a strange pattern begins to surface. The moment those people get what they want, whether it's advice, emotional comfort, financial support, or even just temporary companionship, they start to pull away. The messages slow down, the phone calls stop, the connection fades, and it becomes painfully clear they were not in love with him. They were in love with what he offered. They didn't admire the person. They admired the utility. That realization stings, not because the Sigma needs validation, but because he thought the bond was real. He thought the loyalty was mutual. And when he watches people disappear the moment he stops giving, something inside him clicks. He stops being so available. He stops offering help to those who only remember him in crisis. He becomes more calculated, more observant. He starts measuring intentions before investing energy. From then on, access to him is no longer open. It's selective, controlled, earned, because now he knows the truth. Some people don't love you. They love the door you keep open. And once they're done walking through it, they never look back. So he locks it, not out of hate, but out of wisdom. Number 8, they became addicted to peace. Sigma males have seen the darker side of connection. They've loved people who confused intensity with intimacy, who made chaos feel like normal. They've been in relationships where every disagreement turned into a test, where walking on eggshells was part of the daily routine. And at first they tolerated it. They thought maybe that's just how love is, messy, passionate, unpredictable. But over time they started to notice something. The chaos wasn't love, it was control. The drama wasn't passion, it was immaturity. And the so-called loyalty? It only lasted as long as the Sigma male stayed useful. So they did what most people never do. They stepped back. They started choosing quiet over noise, space over clinging, peace over forced connection. And once they tasted that calm, it became impossible to go back. Peace became addictive. It's not just about solitude, it's the absence of emotional manipulation. It's waking up without bracing for a fight. It's being around people who don't need to be explained or managed. Sigma males start to realize that their nervous system deserves rest, that their mind deserves stillness, that love isn't supposed to feel like survival. They stop entertaining arguments that go in circles. They stop engaging with people who only show up to create tension. If you bring drama, you don't get access. If you demand chaos, you get silence. Peace isn't just a preference now, it's a requirement. If your presence threatens it, you're not staying long. Because once a Sigma male learns that real love feels like peace, not pressure, he no longer chases people, he chooses quiet, he chooses alignment, he chooses peace every single time. Number 9, they didn't change. The world did. People love to say, "You've changed," when a Sigma male stops tolerating the nonsense he used to absorb in silence. But the truth is, he didn't change. The world just kept pushing until he had no choice but to adapt. He didn't wake up one day and decide to become distant or emotionally unavailable. That shift happened slowly, over years of being let down by the very people he showed up for. He was the guy who used to care deeply, who used to check in, who used to give second and third chances. He believed in people, he believed in potential. He believed that if he just loved harder, stayed longer, gave more, things would work out. But that belief got worn down by betrayal disguised as loyalty, by people who only came around when they needed something, by relationships that left him more drained than fulfilled. And after enough of that, he stopped showing up the same way. What the world now sees as cold is just him setting boundaries. What they call distant is him finally choosing peace over people who bring chaos. What they think is selfish is him learning to put his own well-being before the emotional blackmail of others. He didn't lose his heart. He learned to protect it. He didn't stop feeling. He just stopped performing. Because when the world keeps showing you that love can be fake, loyalty can be conditional, and kindness can be used against you, you don't become bitter, you become careful. So when people say the Sigma male changed, what they're really seeing is a man who woke up to reality and finally chose himself. Not because he stopped caring, but because he got tired of caring alone. Number 10, forgiveness had consequences. Sigma males are not heartless. In fact, their capacity for forgiveness runs deep, deeper than most people realize. They've let things slide that others would never tolerate. Not because they're weak, but because they understand that people are flawed. They believe in second chances, sometimes even third or fourth. They've forgiven friends who crossed the line, partners who broke trust, family who didn't show up. But here's the thing. Those same people kept repeating the same behavior. They apologized, yes, promised to change, said all the right things, but nothing actually shifted. The damage kept coming, just in new packaging. And that's when the Sigma male began to see forgiveness for what it had become, a door they kept leaving open for people who had no intention of respecting the space they were given. At some point, forgiveness stopped feeling noble. It started feeling dangerous. Because every time they forgave someone who didn't truly change, they were teaching that person how to keep hurting them without consequence. So they changed their approach. Now, when someone shows a pattern of disrespect, The Sigma male doesn't look for another excuse to forgive. He disconnects, quietly, cleanly, no warnings, no dramatic exits, just absence. And not because he holds a grudge, but because he finally respects himself enough to stop offering grace to people who see it as a reset button. Forgiveness still lives in him, but it's no longer automatic. It's earned. It comes with accountability, not just words. And if that's too much for someone, the Sigma won't argue. He doesn't forgive out of fear of losing people anymore. He lets go out of love for himself, because the real consequence of repeated forgiveness is losing your own peace. And that's a price he's no longer willing to pay. Number 11. They grew tired of repeating lessons to adults. Sigma males are naturally patient. They give people the space to grow, the benefit of the doubt, and the time to figure things out. But that patience runs out when they keep finding themselves in the same conversations with the same people over and over again. They explain the importance of respect, again. They express the need for boundaries, again. They calmly point out behavior that crosses the line, again. And what happens? Nothing changes. Apologies without action, acknowledgement without effort, excuses dressed up as emotional honesty. At some point, the Sigma male realizes he's doing emotional labor that grown adults should have already mastered on their own. He's not teaching lessons, he's babysitting egos. And for a man who values intelligence and independence, that becomes unbearable. He doesn't argue, he doesn't yell. He simply stops explaining. The conversation ends, not because he's cold, but because he's done wasting words on people who listen to respond, not understand. Picture this. He asks for space. They take it personally. He sets a boundary. They act like he's being difficult. He points out a pattern. They say he's overthinking, so he stops. He becomes quiet, observant, distant, and from that distance he finds peace. Because repeating yourself to someone who has no intention of changing is the fastest way to burn out your spirit. Sigma males figure this out the hard way. But once they do, they no longer waste their time explaining simple things to people who complicate everything. From that moment on, he watches, he listens, and he lets people show him whether they belong in his peace or not. If you're not emotionally grown, he won't argue with you. He'll just remove himself. Quietly, completely, without warning. In conclusion, sometimes the coldest people you meet were once the warmest souls, until life taught them to feel less in order to survive more. Sigma males don't turn cold because they want to. They turn cold because the world kept pushing, testing, and betraying until something inside them had to harden. This isn't about arrogance or emotional detachment. It's about survival. It's about self-preservation after giving too much for too long to people who didn't value it. They loved without needing attention. They gave without needing recognition. They were strong, not because they shouted, but because they endured quietly. But when that quiet strength was misunderstood as softness, when their loyalty was used, and when their kindness was mishandled, they stopped offering those parts so freely. And who can blame them? If you are a Sigma male, hear this clearly. Your coldness isn't a flaw, it's a response, a wise one. You've learned that not every hand deserves to be held, not every voice deserves your energy, and not every connection is worth keeping warm. You are not heartless, you're selective. You are not distant, you're focused, you are not broken. You're simply done handing out pieces of yourself to people who don't know how to carry them. Protect your peace. Honor your instincts. And never apologize for choosing yourself after a lifetime of being the one who always showed up for everyone else. Your silence speaks volumes. Your distance has meaning. And the stillness you've created around you, that's not emptiness. That's power. Stay sharp. Stay grounded. Stay you. Thank you watching.